still have the backup audio.
Let's get it. Let's get it. Let's get it. All right. Okay, let's get it.
Let me add some brightness to this. We're on air editing right now.
Yo, oh yeah. Back at it.
All right. Start recording on here. Recording. I see it'll be on the side. It would be on the side. Little joke.
Okay.
Dang.
Let's get it. Let's get it. Okay. Shout out Aki too.
Aki too. Appreciate y'all. You know what I'm saying? Being there. I'm drinking water and coffee. Entrepreneur stuff, you know, you gotta have the caffeine, but you gotta cleanse it with the H2O. And that's what I like about Akui is that it's 9.5 pH. Because like I need that caffeine hit, but then you gotta have that clear water for clarity. You know what I mean? So yeah.
Dr. Sebi will be proud.
Yep. Well, appreciate having me on the show.
You know what I'm saying? Yo, welcome. Perfect show. Finally getting a rhythm with this, and the perfect person to have on this, Tony Smith. My guy, one of my best friends, man. You know, we've grown tight over the last year or so plus working together. And I think this is the perfect candidate for the topic we're going to say, which is starting a business, and not only starting a business, but having a successful business. Because Tony here he has a warehouse here where he has his clothing company, historically Black Apparel. And he has 2 event spaces. And what I think makes you perfect for the people that I want to talk to, with just the audience I want to reach, is like, you didn't come from millions of dollars, but you didn't come from just straight poverty. So I feel like you having 2 successful businesses that are in different realms of business, but coming from a relatable background, I think you're one of the best people to talk to, because there isn't that. You know, you can get on social media and there can be a distance between like, dang, I really want to start a business. I have an idea. I may like whatever, but I don't know how to bridge that gap. I feel like you're the perfect person to help bridge that gap because information is key.
Definitely. So I think one thing that I definitely like that you just touched on is like a relatable background. So for me, like I didn't have the story of like, you know, came from the mud, you know what I'm saying, was in the dirt, you know, homeless at 16, figured it out, all this type of stuff. Like, I came from a household where, you know, my parents kind of had it that way, but it was a shift of generational wealth in the sense of where they were like, we're going to better this. So my parents did good. They had really good, like, corporate jobs. They bought a big house, which is their investment. So we always lived, you know, frugal because it was like they had the house, but that was like an investment they were making so that after they raised me, sent me to school, that they could sell that, you know, for cash, downsize, and then have money. You know what I mean? So for me, you know, my parents wanted me to go to school. It wasn't like at the beginning that they were really like happy about me being an entrepreneur, because about 13 years ago when I started, it was still very risky. You know, it wasn't like social media where it's cool now to be an entrepreneur.
Right.
So, you know, I had internships, didn't get hired afterwards, went to school, got a 4-year degree. So I did all of that. So when I do relate to getting out of the mud, sometimes it's like I had to do something where people didn't believe in me. You know what I'm saying? So I had to create businesses. I always had the love and support of my parents, but I really had to like show that my vision was something that I had. And a lot of people, that's what they got to go against. So I understand what it's like, you know, having all the odds against you, not having people in your corner, and having to make something out of nothing. So it's very relatable when I do listen to like rap music and I hear things about getting out the mud and the sacrifice that it took to get me here. So yeah.
Okay, cool. And one thing you just touched on, I want to kind of have you elaborate more on. What is it like, because you just turned 31, happy birthday, you know, less than a month ago, and you started these businesses in your early 20s. And so Can you talk a little bit about the difference between what it was like starting a business? Like you said, being an entrepreneur 10 years ago wasn't. My dad had a joke. He said 10 years, 10 years ago, if you call yourself an entrepreneur, that just means you don't have a job.
Right.
But now, like you said, it's 2022, and with social media and just free marketing and advertising, almost everybody is an entrepreneur in some way or another. Right. So, can you talk about the struggles that you faced? We'll say 2011, 2012, getting started, and what now is fixed almost about those struggles, or can you talk about kind of the differences in the years?
Yeah, so I mean, when I first started, it wasn't as glamorized and highlighted as it was now, but it got props like, dang, you're doing that. Wow. You know what I'm saying? So when I was, 23 years old with my own warehouse, my first lease, that was like 2,500 square feet, and I had that, it was like really cool. You know what I mean? Cool. But, I had to make brokers and stuff believe me that I had a viable business. So I had to have like my paperwork in order from like my revenue, from my e-commerce sales, my taxes, and all that stuff in order. But a lot of stuff that I went through that a lot of people don't think about when they just see Instagram is just everything you need to have in order in business. So I wouldn't say that I started out perfect. I literally figured it out on the way up there. As far as like taxes, dang, that's due. I didn't know I had to have like payroll taxes due at this time. I didn't know that business taxes had to be due at this time. I didn't know about workers' comp, all of those things. So on Instagram now, you only see the glamorous, you know what I'm saying? People have never seen you, have an attorney general contact you because orders aren't shipping out fast enough,
Oh,
yeah, exactly. And paying thousands and thousands of dollars because they're like, oh, you had several orders that didn't ship out past 30 days, and now we want to fine you for $60,000. And then I had to lawyer up. And luckily, I got that down to about 5,000. But people don't see all that.
Oh, so this is a real story.
This is real story.
Okay. And see, this excites me because this is exactly why I wanted to have you on, because I'll start here. If someone came to you right now and said, "Hey, man, I have a good idea. I have a passion. I feel like I'm good at, let's just say, selling do-rags." Mm-hmm. What would be the first 3 to 5 steps, practical steps that you would really give them, like past the Gary V motivation and stuff? Mm-hmm. No disrespect to Gary V, but you know what I'm saying? Like, what are the first 3 to 5 practical steps you tell anybody when like really want to legit start a business?
Yeah, I would say first analyze your life, right? Because we're all different. So for me, I was able to take a lot of risks because I started young and I didn't have the attachments of family and kids, right? So I always say this, one of my friends, Justin, we always say, you either have more time than money or you have more money than time, right? So you got to figure out in your life where you are, because that's going to decide the next factor of how you build your business. So then once you figure out whether you got more money or you got more time, you can say, okay, I want to take the red pill or the blue pill, right? So if you've got more time than money, I would say just start, figure it out. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Maybe get mentorship, surround yourself around. So let's say number 2, surround yourself around the right people, but just start. And then you're going to figure out your flow. You know what I'm saying? It's going to take you longer. But now to switch that up, if we go to the blue pill, if you got more money than time, let's say you're like, yo, I want to invest in something, I want to do something, but I really don't have the time to be in a warehouse trying to ship all this type of stuff out. You just need to find your vendors, get mentorship so you do it the right way, but find your vendors and then literally have like a third-party logistics company, aka 3PL, that ships it out for you and focus on the marketing. Because a lot of times we say what we want to do in business, we load up with a bunch of equipment, and next thing you know, we're like a print shop or a fulfillment center, when really we should have been focused on the marketing and just focused on top line revenue, right? 3, I would say, even when I said number 1, analyze what you got going on, still position yourself to fail. You know what I mean? Because as an entrepreneur, this is the difference that we look at versus people who are scared to take risks. We don't look at failure as failure. We just figured out that's not the way to do that. And then we try again another time. I saw something today where it was talking about, I think like Einstein with electricity. They said he failed like 1,041 times.
You know, Ben Franklin?
Ben Franklin, excuse me. Ben Franklin failed, yeah.
I'm joking. I won't get it.
Yeah. So we'll edit that. So Ben Franklin, right? He failed like 1,041 times, right? But people not now looking at the failures. But when he was going through it, he may have had family members and friends. It's like, man, you're wasting your time. You know what I'm saying? You're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. But he didn't look at those failures as failures. He just like, okay, I know not to do it this way. Okay, I tried it this way. With that way, it didn't work. But now look at it. Now that he did what he accomplished, it's like, I knew you had it in you. So that's one thing with entrepreneurship, that you got to have that thick skin to be able to take all those arrows that are going to be thrown at you, because people are not going to believe in you until you accomplish it. And then once you accomplish it, they're going to be like, I've been there the whole time, bro. I knew you had it in you the whole time, and they want to attach themselves to you. So that's something that you have to have. And then 5, literally love what you do, right? Because when you love what you do, you know you're going to be able to do it before it pays you. So a lot of people who are scared to take a risk, they only want to do something if they see the dollar sign attached to it. When you're willing to invest into something, you know what I mean? It's like raising a child. You're going to be there before it is what it is. You're going to put in those long hours to do what you need to do. And then once it grows, you can sit back and say, wow, I did that. And I think as an entrepreneur, that's what we strive for, is to look back and just say, wow, I actually did that. So that's what I would just say, like, with those 5 things.
Okay. That was well put, and I like the child analogy, because I'm not gonna say it's one of my fears for society right now, but I think it's one of my light fears for just people in our age range between, I just say 18 and 35, of where there's so much success thrown in your face. But you and I, we talk about bamboo success, because bamboo, as you told me, it grows underground for the first 5 years of its life, and then that last year is when it sprouts and it becomes a tall plant. And so, kind of like you were saying, here I'm sitting with you in 2022, and you have a successful, what started as a t-shirt business and then moved to now it's full-on clothing line,
right?
Heat, Black Apparel, and the event space, but it's like 2013, 2014, 2015, you were still growing that baby. And so to kind of piggyback off that, like, what would you say, like, was your first, I guess, realization of, like, I want to really work for myself? Because you talked about the early failures and things, but, like, at what point did you get to where you were saying, okay, I really think my businesses and my business ideas can make it to where I'm not just doing it as something on the side, I'm really doing this,
Yeah, so I would say my answer is probably going to sound like cliche or whatever, but I've never had a plan B. It was just always this. So, right. So okay. I would say the difference for me, which I say was a benefit, and it goes completely against like what my parents tried to tell me to do, was I did go to school. I graduated in 4 years, had a public relations degree. I had internships at HTV, cloud computing companies doing PR, graphic design, whatever. And then all of them told me, HGTV told me like, hey, we don't like to like hire new talent. We like to buy talent. So we'd rather you go get a job somewhere else and then get good, and then we'll hire you. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't get a job at that internship. I was working at a cloud computing company. Then they're like, hey, next month is when your internship's up, and we don't really have anything for you, but we're thankful for having you here. So that was over with. But I didn't really let Carver spill milk. The whole time I have been like building my business in the background through school with contract screen printing, by connecting the dots with people who needed shirts and printers, and then taking the money off the top, right? So for me, I never had that comfort that people have when they get a job and they have health insurance and benefits and all of that. So like going back to my original statement, like I've always just known how to get back up when I've fallen down. As a business owner, you may see the office space and the ads and all this type of stuff, but there's times when your business doesn't really have any money, and you can't just quit. You got to figure out how to adjust. You're sticking and moving all day, every day, trying to figure out, all right, what I did wrong and how I better that so I can get my business to the next level. So to answer your question, like, when did I know? It was kind of just like, it's instinct for me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I always tell people, in my wife or whatever, like, when people have a job, you have the luxury of just being present, right?
Right.
I have to go hunt every single day and bring something back home in order to like keep the food on the table, pay my employees and all of that. So it's kind of like when you look at like a lion in the nature, like he didn't decide to be a lion, he just was a lion already.
Hey, okay. Born this way.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Wow. Okay. 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 Because I'd say personally, I remember the first time I ever came to your warehouse. I'll never forget. I saw the just how big it was, just the warehouse, and I felt like something subconsciously told me that. I looked around at all the shirts and all the machines, you know what I'm saying, the folding machine and stuff, and I just thought to myself like, this motherfucker manages a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
You know? And I think like me personally, I'm just not someone who's ever like been passionate about like starting a business. So that's why it's funny you say that.
Mm-hmm.
So like, do you think that it's for those who maybe don't have that innate passion?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think it will be more of a challenge to
well, I see where you're going. So pretty much for people who don't have like that innate instinct of just going out, killing, bringing something back home, there's other levels of business that you can be in. So I'm full-time entrepreneur. My mindset is geared towards it, right? But then you have people who just want to invest in this stuff. So when you look at like the cryptos, the stocks, or whatever, even sports betting, you know, you're putting your money somewhere and you're letting it work for you. That's a passive way of bringing money back. Then you can have, you know, different parts of business where, going back to what I said, where analyze your lifestyle. Do you have more money than time or more time than money? Like when I started, I was right out of college, so I had way more time than money. I had time to mess up, figure it out, you know. But now if you look at it like, let's say the friend that comes on my mind, he has 4 daughters, you know what I'm saying? So he doesn't really have that much time to mess up. So his risk level is going to be way different than my risk level.
Okay.
So he may be a business owner from a financial standpoint where somebody comes to him with an idea, they propose their business plan, he puts his money into it, forgets about it for a while, and lets his money have babies, and now he's making more money. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah. Okay, I feel you. I feel you. So I guess kind of venturing not all the way away from business, but just kind of to a lighter side of things. So like, what does a typical day look like for you from time you wake up to time you go to sleep?
Yeah, so every day and every day starts with prayer, every night ends with prayer for me,
Okay.
right?
Holy.
So you got to be ready. You know what I'm saying? Every day is different. I wake up, you know, I got my to-do app. I write my stuff down and at the gym, you know what I mean? But even before that, you could wake up to bullshit, you know what I'm saying? Literally, like it could be, I plan to get, you know, these videos done, this done, and then I get an email from, you know, Georgia Secretary of State, or I get an email that, you know, one of my staff members can't come in and I figure to get this out. Or I get an email that, you know, something terrible has happened at the event space, you know what I'm saying? Or my event space people, you know, gave me the wrong routing number and the check didn't get delivered, but I just sent 6 bands over to get wired and I got to figure that out, and now my whole day's changed, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's real nigga problems.
Right. So it's like a bunch of different things that can happen, but you just got to be willing to, you know what I'm saying, to figure it out. So every day you're trying to put out fires. And that's why it is very important to figure out how to not work in the business and work from an oversight, like an offensive coordinator, so that you're always looking at like which fire needs to be put out so that you can do that. Because when you're stuck in the business, you're not seeing everything that's happening. You know what I mean? So yeah, definitely that. But like my day literally can start from waking up, and if it's a good day, I'm like, all right, cool. I'm checking my Shopify sales. I'm checking my Stripe sales for my digital products. Look, and then, right, then I'm going to the gym. And fortunately enough, I have this time, the ability to like really make my own schedule. So I really put my health first, even before work. So I always hit LA Fitness first, come home, shower, and I get to work about 1 o'clock. Then I'm locked in to about 6 o'clock just on straight work, making content, going on Instagram Live, doing that till about like 9, 10 o'clock, head back home, whatever happens. And then I'm usually doing like the fun stuff with my business at that point, just on the computer. And that's a good day. But then, like I said, there could be bad days that aren't good, where it's like I planned on having this done, and it's like oh, you wanted to close on this commercial lease and you thought you were going to get this space, but then the owners of the space don't feel like this was right, or they need more documents. So now I'm calling my accountant to get this done. I'm trying to do that. And then one of the employees feels like he's not getting paid enough and then he wants to leave. And then, the t-shirts that were supposed to be delivered today are on UPS delay, but you told the customer that they'd be ready by 5 o'clock. So now you're just putting out a bunch of fires. So it could go anyway. You just got to be ready.
Okay, cool. Okay. So, I'm going to get to the event spaces because I have plethora of questions about that. But one thing I would like to, if it's okay, ask, like, can you just kind of, just for pure interest sake, like, can you walk me through what happened? You said the attorney general, like, just, yeah. I want to hear that just from the perspective of, like, what a real business problem can sound like. Because, like I said, like, and this is probably my mindset. I see so much glitz and glamour on the business side. You know what I'm saying? And then you get the videos where, it show Nipsey Hussle talking, rest in peace Nipsey. You know what I'm saying? And then somebody act like they're struggling. But, like, I want to know, like, a real situation of, like, you know what I'm saying? A real business problem with Attorney General calling.
Yeah. So I mean, like, I'm gonna give you two if you got time.
Man, number watches here.
Right. So I'm very transparent because I'm a business coach, right? So I like to teach people, like, what not to do and what to do. So I always tell people the best way to learn is through OPE, other people's experiences. So people pay me for mentorship or whatever because I've been through it, and you're gonna pay me because you don't want to go through it, right? So in e-commerce, there's a thing of scale that happens, right? So scale is your business growing faster than you thought it was going to. And then people always say, if I had this many orders, I would do this, right? But infrastructure is important. You know what I mean? That's just like, if you make candles at home and then you get an order from Bath and Body Works for $1 million, your infrastructure is not ready for that, right? So when you look at that analogy right there, I was selling t-shirts for $10 when I launched historically Black Apparel. And we did this in the wake of 2020, right before COVID hit, and during the riots that happened in 2020 in the summer. The business blew up. We had so many t-shirt sales coming in that it was just hard to fulfill them, get them out on time, because when t-shirts are $10, people are ordering 10 to 12 t-shirts per order. So, and we can't ship the order out until we have all the shirts. Well, then what happens in e-commerce is you get complaints. People reach out to the assistant attorney general. So then there's a thing called, like, something protection agency or whatever. And they just consumer protection agency, and they just make sure that buyers are getting their products and all that stuff, right? So I've literally been through the ugly to where there's been complaints to where I think I had like 50 complaints out of 13,000 orders, but that's alarming to the Consumer Protection Agency. They called me in there and I thought it was something light, and they wanted $60,000 in restitution or something, right? And they said we could have technically charged you $1 million, but we're trying to be nice to you, and we actually don't want to put you up to business, so we just think $60,000 would be nice. You know what I'm saying? So at that point, I had to go spend, several $1,000s on a lawyer, tell him my situation, have him fight for me. And luckily we settled on something that was agreeable between both parties. But those are real situations that business owners go through. So when you hear regular people talking about, like, man, FML, you know what I'm saying? My tire blew out, I owe $300. Like, it's people going through way more. And you got two choices you can choose at that point. You could quit, or you could figure it out and keep going. Boom. Another scenario, let's go to the event businesses, right?
Yeah.
So the event,
so many
the event business is literally one where it's a lot more passive for me because I'm not really in that business. I have it set up to where it's like a lot of automation, people running it, cleaning crews, manager, all of that stuff over there. But there's been times where it's like, from
but just before you explain, so because I know a little bit about the event space, but
right.
When we say event space, so can you kind of describe briefly, like, to people, like exactly what?
Yeah, so I got two commercial leases here in Atlanta. I have an event space, white label creative space, black label event space. One's downtown near Ponce City Market. The other one's near the Battery where the Braves play at. And my first one, where I had most of my problems, and this is what I always talk about, other people's experiences. I didn't know anything about the licenses and all this stuff that went with the event space, right? So I literally had leased the space out as retail space because I was like, people are going to come in here, it's retail, right?
Right.
But it was in a mixed use space that was like over apartment complexes, well, under apartment complexes. So I always had complaints. I had the landlords ready to cancel my lease, but I was paying on time, so they didn't really know what to do.
Because of noise?
Yeah, noise.
Okay.
And like easy. That's just something, boom. And then technically, I wasn't even licensed to be an event space. You know what I'm saying? So those are issues. And then you try to do the right thing to go get licensed. And then they're like, oh, your occupancy level isn't correct for the amount of bathrooms that you need. You've got one bathroom, but we need you to add another bathroom, which may be $20,000 after you've already done a build out. Real business problems.
Yeah, see,
you see what I'm saying?
This is the exact reason I wanted to talk to you about, and just have the world hear this, because it's little shit like that. That's like, I wake up, I get on Instagram motivated. You know, it's all right, cool. I got this idea. I want to sell these do rags, or I want to have an event space. You know what I'm saying? Well, yeah, I'd be great at hosting parties. I should have an event space.
Yeah,
but something like that. Occupancy levels.
Yeah, because you got to have a certificate of occupancy that's given to you by the city that you're in.
And so now they're kind of, well, we're in the event space lane. Like, have you faced any? I don't want to go too racial, but have you faced any just challenges in gaining licenses, or maybe loans, or just any kind of things business wise? You know what I'm saying? Just
I wouldn't say race wise I haven't, but just literally it's like just having your stuff together, knowing the ins and outs of it. But like some of the biggest things that I face in the event business is like landlord issues. A lot of landlords don't want an event space. They want something clean, something easy, like an office or whatever. Because you got to think, event space, you bring a lot of random energy through. Boom, boom. Like,
I like when you put that.
Random energy, people booking out. And then it's like, even to situations where it's like the mother that may book a baby shower may be the perfect, nice candidate, but you don't know who, the daughter's husband, the baby's father is or whatever. Like, there's been times where like, oh, it's a light day, Sunday baby shower, 1:00. Guess what happened? Property manager calling, hey, did you hear there's a shooting at your baby shower today? You see what I'm saying? So now I'm at home thinking my business is passive. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's another thing too. People always say passive, 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 passive. Like, you're still attached to this business. So like, even though I'm at home, I got everything in place, whatever. It's like a shooting at a baby shower outside. You know what I'm saying? You would never think that something like that would happen. So then now it's like, we got to start putting APD in place at every single event. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And then people are like, do I need security? I don't need security. You never know if you need security till you need security.
True.
You see what I'm saying?
And so I don't know if it's legal to do this, but like, could you just kind of give like some like round figures about like the cost of like how much would it cost if I had an event space and I wanted APD? Do you have to pay for that, or like, you know what I'm saying? Like, how's that kind of?
Yeah, I mean, APD is not too bad. Like, it's probably like 30 something an hour. You know what I mean? So like 120, 150 per event. But you got security, staff, all of that, and like just different things that I learned. Like, even with the event space, I used to just let people come in the building and do their thing. But you got to think, like, you got to protect your business, because at the end of the day, like when you take the eyes off of your business and you're not protecting it, those people are gonna leave, go home, and say, "Dang, that sucks for him." But you're gonna be the one with all the legal issues, losing your business, trying to, even legal paperwork of being kicked out because of breach of contract. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, you're not supposed to be doing that. So those are all things that people don't look at when they're looking at the glitz and glam of being a business owner on Instagram.
Hey, true. So, more questions, because like I told you, man, I got a plethora of questions about event spaces. So, can you talk about the difference between pre-COVID, like the flow of business, and post-COVID? And
Gotcha.
kind of like, because I don't know what it's like, but like, have you seen an increase since, mandates and things have kind of relapsed, and things have gone back to somewhat of a norm? Has there been, like, what's the business trend been like, especially for something as social and public as event spaces?
Yeah, so like before COVID happened, the event space was an amazing business. It was like just raining money in a sense, right? Because when you really break it down, like besides all like the ancillary things, like you're paying rent, right? So I may pay 3,500, for 1,500 square feet, up to 5,000 for 3,000 square feet. And you may say, dang, that's a lot, right? But think you're literally booking out spaces for $200 to $300 an hour, 4 hour minimums. That's about $1,200 per event before any add-ons of chairs and tables. And you got 30 days to do this. So before COVID, you had, the world wasn't so virtual. So people were having events for everything. And of course, the weekends are your money makers, but the gravy came from all the people booking during the week, for book signings and, Forex and everything like that, different seminars they were having. But then when COVID happened, it definitely changed everything. You know what I mean? So what it did was it made us only have to rely on the 3Bs. So in the event business, I always say your 3Bs are your real bread and butter. That's baby showers, birthdays, and
bar mitzvahs.
Not bar mitzvahs.
Shout out to the Jewish community.
Right. Birthdays, baby showers. I don't even know. I can't think about it.
Business events?
Huh?
Business events?
No. So most of our events, baby showers, birthdays, and bridal showers.
Okay.
Yeah. So baby, birthday, bridal, or whatever. That's the three. Because at the end of the day, when you think about it, those are three things that you really can't alter. That baby's going to be here at a certain time. We can't have another baby shower unless we have another baby. That wedding's coming up at a certain time. We can't have another bridal shower another time because she's getting married on this day. And a birthday comes once a year, so everybody still wants to celebrate. So you're going to be able to get those. But what it made us do, because we weren't getting all the gravy throughout the week, we had to get tighter on our processes. And before, it was kind of like, just make sure it's clean, let it open. Now we have to be more on sales tactics, like really trying to win the customer over, sending out more email flows throughout their booking process to try to win them over. So a lot more of that. Now that, we're in the summertime, mask mandates have failed. I do see like the increase coming back, but it's just the difference of like, now people know another way. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, I'm going to have a webinar. I'm not going to have a different event. Like me and Justin used to have a Shopify event every Tuesday or Thursday or something. That would be a webinar now, wouldn't it, Justin? You know what I'm saying? So all that has changed, you know what I'm saying? But it's still a good business. It's just about making sure you're running as lean as possible, because it doesn't really take that much work. It just takes the operation of making sure it's clean and then paying your staff to be there.
Okay, cool. Mm-hmm. So, if I'm not mistaken, chronologically, you started with the t-shirt business first and then moved into the event space realm.
Yeah, like I literally had the t-shirt business and I had hit a plateau where I was just tired of it or whatever. So, and I was like, I just need something else. You know what I'm saying? I didn't even know exactly what I was doing at the time. And I was also looking at like, how can I connect with more people in Atlanta? Because I had just got here in 2018. So in 2019, it was like, the t-shirt business was just giving me stress. I was like, let me just find something else. And I just literally, like I said, I just took a risk. And I was like, at the end of the day, I'm going to try to do this event business. If not, I'm going to just be having events here. I'm going to sign a 2-year lease. So at worst, I just got to be in the mud for 2 years. But it was a blessing. I literally put it on Peerspace, the event detective sites and all that. And it kind of just like took off, especially because that was pre-COVID.
Word. Okay. So we're talking about 3 to 4 years ago.
Yeah, 2019.
So what was the catalyst for your interest in event spaces? Like what was there something that was there an event?
No, I was really just trying to like make myself more valuable in the city, because I was in a new city. Okay. So I was just like, in my head, I was thinking, and it went completely different. I was like, okay, if I've got an event space, that's gonna make me like the go-to guy to have, not concerts, but listening parties and this and that, and then people are gonna be like, oh, Tony's the man, call Tony. And then I just thought it was a cool way to just network with people. But like I said, it was a blessing, and I didn't have to do any of that. It worked itself. You know what I mean? Because the biggest thing I tell people in the event business is spend a lot of money up front for the build out, build a beautiful product, and let it sell itself. As long as you clean it up, it'll do its own thing. So, I thought I was going to have to do like the wind down Wednesdays, poetry nights, all this type of stuff. I didn't have to do any of that. You know what I mean? So now it's just trying to get the sales, especially after COVID, it's just more sales.
Okay, cool. So with you being in Atlanta, mm-hmm. I feel like this is a hotbed, a haven for events.
Yeah.
Niggas love to party.
Right.
But I'm from North Carolina. You're from Tennessee. You know, so we're from smaller
Nice
backgrounds. You know what I'm saying? Shout out Greensboro, Holly Springs, Bulls. So, with that said, do you think it's? I don't want to say more difficult, but like
Definitely more difficult.
Okay.
Yep. So I would say, even for like teaching or whatever, when it comes to event space, I don't know what it would be like in a smaller city. I definitely think it would be like what I'm going through right now after COVID, with having to be more salesy. You know what I mean?
Okay, yeah.
So because in a major city like Atlanta, Houston, New York, LA, there's a lot of entertainment. There's a lot of social automatically going on. So I'm tapping into that market, right? So if I was in a smaller city, I would probably tell somebody you need to base your event business to be more weddingy, um, more bridal shower, things that are like definitely going to happen, but because it's like it's hard to have brand launches and all that stuff and listening parties in small cities like where you and I are from. So you got to literally cater to the market in a sense. So it's not that it's impossible. It's just a lot easier when you're in a city that is getting booked all the time. So if you think about the greater Atlanta, there's probably 3 million people here between the actual city and all the suburbs.
True.
So even if there's 20 event spaces, look at the probability.
True. Okay. Okay, I feel you. Okay, so one thing I kind of want to move towards now is the digital aspect, because this is one thing since I've met you that's really like you and Justin, it's really opened my eyes as to like exponential growth when it comes to income, because there's something about putting out a digital product and then it making money for the rest of time,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to, and this is no disrespect to people with like any company with moving parts. I mean, almost every company runs moving parts, like a t-shirt business. You know, there's still so many costs and overhead that goes along with it. Not saying you don't have to spend money on ads and stuff for the digital world, but like, what in your eyes, I guess, has kind of changed to make you push more towards this digital wave?
Yeah, so there's several things that's made me kind of want to go digital. Is one, I would say personal brand was really important to me, a way that I could provide more value to people with actually not having to use like my time of being there, because there's only 24 hours in a day, but in a digital aspect, I can help so many more people, right? Then two, what I would say, like I said earlier, when I said, do you have more money than time, more time than money? A digital business, like some people hate on it, but it's just a vertical integration of what you're already doing. So if I'm already in the t-shirt business, I've mastered it in a sense because I've been doing it for 12 years. If I'm already in, the event business and I'm doing something, well, people want to learn from what I said, OPE, other people's experience. Why not package my knowledge up to where you can purchase some of my knowledge and get digital access to it instantly and then learn from what I have going on? So I just look at it like I'm selling my experience to you. So when people like hate on it and they're like, oh, they're just trying to scam, they're just trying to get money, they're just trying to do that. No, it's like people need to figure out how they can do this so that they don't hit the roadblocks. And that's what the digital products are for.
Right. And my apology, I should have prefaced everything I said by stating you have a digital course out called the T-shirt game.
Mm-hmm.
Can you kind of elaborate on that?
Yeah. So going back to what I said, like OPE, other people's experience. So in the t-shirt game, one of the main things that I see people do a lot is lose money with the t-shirt business, right? And even, you can even lose money when you get to like the bigger up levels. But at the start, you at least like look up and say, man, how are they hitting those Shopify numbers of 10, 20, 30, 40, 100K a month, right? So with those courses, what I'm basically doing is just showing you how to actually understand what you're trying to do. So I got this formula called impact over income equals profit. And a lot of people, what they're doing is they're just buying T-shirts. They think their idea is cool. They spend $1,000 to $3,000 with a screen print company, and then they don't understand where to go from there, right? So what I try to do is teach people literally like the brand clarity of what exactly that they're doing, from the 3 W's to who, why, what you're serving, your purpose for being here, so that your brand can have an emotional impact with other people. And then when it has that emotional impact with other people, they attach to what you got going on, and then it makes it a lot easier to sell, right? It even makes it easier for you to understand what you are selling, because most people think a cool design in a Shopify store is literally all they need to be successful, but it's so much more than that. So the course is what I kind of like what I was telling you earlier, like, I have like a free webinar, or if you jump in my DMs, whatever it is, like I can teach you what to do. Just like you can go on YouTube and figure out how to change your sink, but you still got to go Home Depot and get the tools. So the course is pretty much all the tools packaged so that you could do the same thing.
That was well put. Okay. Nice. I like that. Okay, and so with digital, I just want to say the digital world in general. What would you say are like? What are two I don't want to say example. I'm trying to think of a good word. What are just 2 points that you would make to young entrepreneurs as to why they should seek the digital world once they've mastered the non-digital world?
Yes.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like what are the benefits?
Yeah, so okay, what I would say, I see what you're going with. I would just say, like, one, like I said earlier, it's a vertical integration of what you got going on, right? A lot of people think that you got to have like all these different businesses, but there's so many businesses that branch off from the same business that you're doing. So, for instance, like if you bake cakes, that could be the foundation of the business, right? But then you may start selling like your cake batter, you know what I mean? Because people like that. Then you may sell a course that teaches you how to make the cakes, you know what I mean? So that's just 2 vertical integrations off of something that you're already doing in that same lane without losing your focus on what the main thing is, you know what I'm saying? Right, so that's vertical integration.
Okay.
Then secondly, it's just like, okay, when we look at assets, we're so used to physical assets, right? Mm-hmm. So we're so used to looking like this house that's sitting on the land, or this car that I'm renting, or my event spaces, when we look at like some types of asset. But if you look at like the course, yeah, you're going to put the upfront investment into like making this, but once you package it, it's complete. It's something that you can always sell to somebody, so it becomes a digital asset. So I think that's something that we should all be focused on, because we all have some type of skill that we can show to other people that they can learn from us too, and they'll pay for information. Just like data is king right now, people are always paying for data. So why not package your experience into a package that somebody can digitally download and learn from as well and get their own value?
Word. Okay. How long would you say, if you had to estimate, did it take you to make the whole course? Because how like what's the length of your course, or how many is that modules? You know what I'm saying? Does it?
Yeah, so everybody's courses are different. Mine took me about 6 months to make, just because of just because of
the baby.
Right, just because I wanted to really focus on providing not only value but making it like entertaining. And I would say for me, one of my friends, Justin or whatever, I was literally like a student of his for like a year, right? And I would say one thing that we focused on was always providing value, because there's a lot of people who are selling snake oil, but we were like, whether it's 1 people or it's 1,000 people, we want to make sure that they get value from any of the products that that we're putting out. So 6 months, it was expensive. I had to pay a video guy $600 a week to make it happen, but now that product's complete, I can always sell it to somebody, and I know at the bottom of my heart that I'm actually providing a product that will literally take them from point A to Z and put them in a better place that they're currently in.
Word. Okay. Because I'm not gonna lie, when I got around you and Justin, I think it was my mind, and this is once again why I wanted to just have this discussion, because I feel like there's so many people like me who we see people our age doing shit, making shit happen, making money, but there's like this gap between practicality and inspiration. Mm-hmm. And so like
and reality.
And well, that too. And reality. But like, can you talk about like back to the t-shirt game, or even or not the t-shirt game, the t-shirt company, but even the event space, like what role has loans play? Have you ever been able to use loans? Have you ever had to use loans? You know what I'm saying? For certain mm-hmm. types of things, like are loans readily available for people in our age range, or is it something that's kind of an uphill battle?
Yeah, so I mean, like I've definitely used like loans. I've got loans now. And there's 2 ways of looking at it, right? So when you're in business, you always got to look at what your strategy is, where you are. We're all in different places, right? So I look at it like I've never looked at an opportunity and said like I'm not gonna say I never have. My first thought isn't I can't do this because of money, right? I'm more so thinking about is it feasible from an operational standpoint and what can I get if I put this into place? Because you can always get money. It's just how much does that money cost you to get? So those are things to put into play. So for like white label, I didn't have $100,000 to build white label out. You know what I'm saying? But I had a cash flowing business, which was my t-shirt business that had revenue, which is also an asset that, you could borrow against. And I literally just got several different, like a big line of credit and several different loans that were able to allow me to build that business. So now in year one, there's not a lot of profit in it because we're paying that stuff back. But I'm looking at the speed of motion and getting stuff done that I wanted to get done. I could have waited 3, 4, 5 years to build white label out, but then it's like, who knows where life is then?
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Seriously.
I wanted it now. So that's the power of using like other people's money in order to like grow faster. You know what I mean? And then you definitely got to look at the cost of money for sure because that can cripple your business. But I'm kind of like not too scared of taking risks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I always like logically figure out like what's the ground zero, what can like take care of this if it does go to ground zero.
Okay.
But what I thought you were going to ask me was perception.
Well, what would be the answer to that?
Yeah, so when it comes to looking at, I think too, like in life as a normal person, and especially even like an entrepreneur, like everybody goes through this, and I think this is like super like helpful to people that everything is perception, right? So you may look at me and say, "Dang, Tony's got it all together." I could look at some of my friends that are in business and like look at their numbers and like they're way above me, right? But at the end of the day, focusing on someone else's success and the negative of looking at where you aren't is only crippling to your success, right? Because you probably think LeBron James is extremely successful, right? Which he is. He's worth $1 billion, same as Kanye, right? But at the end of the day, they're small fries when you look at Elon and Bezos. So technically, everything is perspective, right? You know what I'm saying? So I've got friends who, I just looked at the landlord for Black Label. He just sold the building. I said, dang, he just got $3 million for selling that building, right? One day I want to be him. You know what I'm saying? Like, dang, what I got to do to be on his level? But then he could be looking at Seelig Enterprises in Atlanta that own 200 buildings, and he thinking the exact same thing. So for me to like slow myself down and position myself saying I'm not where I need to be looking at someone else, that's only hindering my success.
Yo, and that reminds me of I know your page. I remember I saw this when I first kind of came across your page. You had a video of I think it was not Seabiscuit, Secretariat.
Oh, the Secretariat is the
and
horse.
You were talking about staying in your lane.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, like even with that video, when you think about it, it's basically I had just broke down to like if you've ever gone to like a horse race, like they always got blinders on, but the reason is so that horse can run straight. Because if it didn't have the blinders on, it'd just be a chaotic mess out there, and all the horses would be running into each other, right? So it's the same thing for us. Like if you can literally put those blinders on and just stay focused on your path, you know what I'm saying? Whether the progress is slow or fast, because slow progress is still progress, you know what I'm saying? You'll eventually get to where you're going. But if the whole time you looking behind you, looking left, looking right, you'll notice you probably haven't even taken as many steps as you needed to, and then you're just not moving to the pace that you need to. So it's super important to just like literally stay as focused as possible, and the people that are doing better than you to like congratulate them versus hating on them and saying I'm not where they are and putting hate on yourself.
Right. Yeah. Love the energy, man. I love this. Cool. So as far as the future, like, because now I've seen your brand go from just t-shirts to now way more apparel, and some real heat.
Right.
And the event space, I feel like after Corona, the wave after the world was shot, now it's getting back going. So where would you see, or where would you like to see yourself? I'd say in the next 3 to 5 years. Like, what do you envision for Tony and his wife in his future?
Yeah, well, I would say for like Tony's wife, that'd be like family,
Well,
like house kids, all that stuff. I would say business wise, the best part about being an entrepreneur is that you can go anywhere. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I don't look at like, of course, my current businesses. I'm always thinking of just like scale, bettering the processes. But what I just love about being an entrepreneur is the fact of like, 6 months from now could be like totally different. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even though entrepreneurship is difficult, it's hard, it's stressful. You know what I'm saying? I love the flexibility of being able to create. You know what I mean? So I can't really say exactly where I will be in 3 to 5 years. All I could do is focus on being the best that I can now, because the decisions that we make today are the ones that affect us in the next 3 to 5 years. So that's pretty much where I'm at with that.
Okay. Any closing remarks? I actually had a question. I didn't.
Yeah.
Been mad intrusive.
Yeah. So all I would just say is, you know, limiting beliefs are something that we all have to look at, right? And that everybody has, and they're so universal. But a lot of times it's like we're the ones that actually are holding us back. You know what I'm saying? We all got our own problems. We all got our own issues that we're going against. But for some reason, like the world has told us that like everything outside of what we got going on is perfect, right? So what I would just say is literally like figure out what you want to do, be consistent with it, and also be loud with it, right? Because we get so stuck on how many people are liking, commenting, and viewing what we got going on.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, like what I've told you, it's like consistency is what's gonna win. If I started selling apples today, you would think like this is weird. Why does Tony sell apples? But if I started posting content about me selling apples every single day, probably in about 30, 60, 90 days, you might buy a bag of apples from me. You see what I'm saying?
Sure, yeah.
So
yeah, this nigga sells apple now.
right. So literally figure out what you want to do. The hardest part is going to just be getting over your self-limiting beliefs, but just stay consistent with you and with it, and at the end of the day, you'll see a W.
Okay, man. Yeah, I appreciate the time. This won't be the last. Y'all be blessed. Shout out to my man Justin. Appreciate him showing moral support.
And we out. Y'all can check me out on Instagram at tunedintony. Y'all can check out my digital products at tunedintony.biz when you type that into your URL. Yes, sir.
Let's get it.